Hello, Coach Bree. Today we are discussing and going over the lesson for my life as a vet. I want you to basically tell me how did you teach this lesson? What did you teach? And what was the quiz for? And we'll kind of go over a little bit of the data for the quiz for the lesson my life as a vet. Starting off with the objective of the lesson, what is it? And how will the end goal assessment measure that objective?
The learning objective with the focus critiques A, B, AD, and AF. Students will learn how to use the author's text structure and language to achieve a specific purpose. How they would achieve this learning goal is by the following. One, I'll have them explain and identify the author's use of language, including figurative language and diction. Two, I'll have them analyze and explain the tone the author use of language conveys. And three, explaining the author's purpose for the writing the story, and how the structure and language contributes to the purpose.
What is the exit ticket for this lesson?
I have them doing a 12-question test, a quiz, that they reference the story. However, questions 5, 12, and 11 focus specifically on the standards above. Can I read question 5 for you?
Yes.
Okay. The author uses single, long lyrical sentences in paragraph 25 to create, and it's multiple choice. It gives A, mood, 2, reverent mood, 3, different mood, and D, determined mood. When we went back and looked over paragraph 25, we defined how the answer was B. Then we go to our short instructor responses. For question 11, I asked, how does the author's choice of language show her preference for life as a bat? And I have them cited examples for the text and their response. And then the second short instructor response question that I have for them is, what is most likely the reason Arthur faced the reincarnation section at the beginning of the story? And I have them cite examples for that as well.
Okay. Do you believe that your exit ticket matched the rigor of the end goal assessment?
After going over the standards that we were having to measure, I do feel like my quiz does, because it focused on the standards for a specific lesson.
Okay. We'll come back to the exit ticket. Let's kind of talk about the lesson. How was the lesson structured?
So I'm going to pull it up on my computer so you can see it on the board, but I also have a handout for you here. If you look at slides 30 through 34, you'll see the slides are based off sections of the story. And as a class, we'll go through slides 31 through 32. And then I'll release the students to do independent reading for the remaining of the sections.
Okay, great. I definitely love that the lesson is broken down into sections, but it correlates to the story. My only pushback is I feel as though you don't have to constantly read to them, because due to the fact of STAR, they have to read it themselves. So we kind of want them to start practicing that as they are reading. Now, if you do see that the kids are struggling and stuff like that, of course, I do want you to bring it back, read it to them, and then re-release them again. Attempt to re-release them again. But all in all, we want them to get them prepared for STAR, and due to the fact that they have to read it themselves. So during your independent practice, what is the expectation for the students?
My expectation for my students are for them to use their strategies, and one of the strategies is to annotate the text on their own. As they're annotating, they're looking for key details and answering questions that is listed on each slide. For example, slide 34 right here shows you that they will do the following. It says silent and solo. They'll read the final section of beauty and the questions below. Highlight the instructional components of figurative language. Think about why the author intentionally used the language and structure. I'm going to have them answer a few questions. One, what does the author use of M dash emphasize in paragraph 24? Then I have them use another strategy, which is highlight 2 examples of imagery in paragraph 25. Which will also ask them more, what tone does these examples reveal about the future and the narrator's vision? And then lastly, I'll ask them, how does this section serve as a resolution for the story? They're supposed to annotate and answer they're following and put their analysis on their Canvas.
Okay, so how do these three standards align to the slides given?
Because it's asking for skills and details that is associated to the standards such as plot, related to text structure and keywords, related to diction and language.
Yeah, I see that. So let's go back to the exit ticket. I want you to pull up three students' answers for them and compare them to yours, and let's kind of talk about it.
Okay, give me a second. We're going to go ahead and go to student one. All right. With student one, they answered the question but failed to provide evidence to support their answers. That is typically an issue when we're talking about our constructive responses, because in order for it to be a response, there has to be details to support their answers and not just their own thoughts. And then with student two, they are similar to student one, but they answer the question but fail to support their answer with textual evidence. Sometimes students will write and just have reference from what they already know, but when you bring the text back into it, that means that you're able to grasp the concept of the text and apply it to your answer for your constructive, which gives you more evidence. With student three, they fail to provide an answer as well as evidence. Sometimes we typically see students when they write, they just write just to write, and it doesn't have any context, so that allows them to bring it back to what they need without having text evidence or any form of evidence for their writing. They're not able to have a solid, short, constructive response.
Okay. So before we get into misconceptions, did they have ample amount of time to answer these questions?
Yes, I gave them 15 minutes to answer the question, but I noticed for some of my lower learners, they needed like 5 extra minutes to kind of get the textual response. So I kind of gave them roughly, for my high learners, about 15 to 17 minutes, but for my lower learners, they got anywhere from about 15 to 20 based off of where I saw their writing was from the time I got close around to the 5 minutes.
Okay. So what do you think was the misconceptions your students had in writing the short response? And did you set any clear expectations?
I believe that I set clear instructions. I provided clear directions because asking them to provide evidence allow them to see how what I'm looking for from my own writing, and I'm looking for details as well as what my expectation for them is.
So going to your directions, can you pull them up for me? So where it says, how does the author choice of language show her preference for life as a bad site? Examples from the text of your response. I do believe that the directions are clear, however, the expectations are not. They are lacking. In your exemplar, you have, of course, clear sentences. You provide the answer as well as providing textual evidence. And you wrote more than one. So when it comes to the short constructive response, we know that we are looking for them to write at least 3 sentences for each short constructive response. So what I want you to do next time is kind of just give them the expectation that they must write 3 sentences, because that is what is going to be necessary when it comes to STAR. And they need to, of course, provide text evidence when they're doing the 3 sentences, because when you look at the short constructive response rubric, if they do not have any textual evidence, they will lose out on points, and we don't want them to lose out on points. And of course, answering the prompt is definitely a part of getting that perfect score, so we definitely want them to make sure that they are aware that they need to answer it. Now, when it comes to the analysis part, it's not necessarily that they need an analysis, but for us, I feel as though our children need to have an analysis, because eventually it will let us be better practice for them when they start writing the extended constructive response, because that's what they're looking for on the STAR test. So yeah, let's look at the next exit ticket for your next lesson, and we'll discuss how to make expectation and instructions clear for the next exit that includes the short constructive response.
All right. So how does the, I'm sorry about that. I was trying to get this, I got a lot of screens going, you know, it's a long day.
All right, so read to me the short constructed response.
How does the author use the text structure to convey the central idea of the text?
Okay. So for this one, I want you to, of course, for the instructions at the end of it, I want you to add that they must support their answer with textual evidence, so they won't stray away from getting the evidence from the text. And also explain that their response must be 3 sentences long. And then I also believe that you need to put the short constructed response rubric on there so they'll be fully aware of what they need to do or what they need to incorporate in order to get a perfect score for the STAR test and as well as our future short constructed responses. Do you have any questions for me?
No, it having this PLC and break it down really tells me that if I give an example, I give a rubric, and show them the example within the rubric and how I'm grading it, it'll probably help them have a stronger, short constructed response. So
And if you want to, what I would do is before going into a short constructed response, I would kind of model it for them what you're looking for, probably like bringing this lesson back up from the life as a bat, showing them your exemplar, and then having like a real discussion on how theirs look compared to yours, what theirs lacking compared to yours, because it'll just let them know these are the expectations and this is what, you know, the raters and stuff is looking for when they are taking the STAR test. So that's just something to keep in mind, but
I really appreciate that. It's definitely going to help my short responses.